Good evening. I'm Stan Mark, Vice Chair of Class Act HR 73, and it's my pleasure to welcome you this evening to this webinar entitled 6 Steps to Promoting Your Nonprofit on Social Media by Katie Marinello. Class Act HR 73 was founded 10 years ago, and not long after we developed our Bridge program. The Bridge program supports classmates and the nonprofit organizations they sponsor by matching them with volunteers from the class who donate their expertise to assist these organizations in reaching their goals. 3 Class Act board members, Lee Haffrey, Rick Weil, and myself, oversee the Bridge program and have developed this new webinar series as an outreach not only to our class of 1973 classmates, but to other classes that have started their own Class Acts, and indeed to the whole alumni community. I would now like to introduce our speaker. Katie Marinello is a digital communications consultant with expertise in digital strategy, brand messaging, social media, and email marketing. Since 2018, her agency, KT World Communications, has advised nonprofits, small businesses, artists on how to harness the power of digital media to tell their brand stories. Katie has advised Class Act HR 73 on social media strategy since 2020, and is also an adjunct professor or speaker at digital and social media at the Carroll Community College in Westminster, Maryland. Prior to launching her business, Katie was a teacher in New York City, an online product manager for the Brooklyn Cyclones, and worked for various pharmaceutical, finance, and crisis PR agencies. She is a graduate of Trinity College in Hartford and of the Relay Graduate School of Education in New York City. Welcome, Katie.
The first question that I usually get from my clients or people who ask me about what I'm doing is, why social media? And the answer is really that it's where everybody is, right? So even if you think you're not on social media, chances are you have been sent a link to a YouTube video, or you have read an article on LinkedIn, or you've seen a tweet on the news. So 75% of the world's population, ages 13 and up, uses social media in some form. And specifically for nonprofits, 55% of people who engage with nonprofits on social media end up taking some sort of action. So whether that's making a donation or volunteering or attending an event. So if you're not on social media, you're not a part of that conversation, and you're not getting those eyeballs. So I promised 6 steps. These are the 6 steps that I use to strategize for any organization, and especially my nonprofit clients. So step 1 is to set a goal. So probably when you started your nonprofit, or when you have your yearly board meetings or regular board meetings, you set some business goals or fundraising goals or service goals. Those are the accomplishments you hope to achieve over the course of the year, right? And then your communications goals come out of that, how you're going to get your messaging out there and achieve those goals. Digital goals are a little different. They should be about showing what's called social proof, which is what others say about you and your organization. They should be about showing off your expertise and building a community. They should not, so they're not specifically your business goals. Certainly you can get donations and can get business from social media, but that's not really the primary purpose. So some categories people might choose to set goals in: brand awareness, engagement, driving website traffic, growing your audience. So for example, I have a social media, Instagram and Facebook for my foster cats. And my business goal is to find adopters for 90% of my foster kittens. My communications goal is to raise awareness of fostering and rescuing cats. So my digital goal is going to be about increasing my following and engaging new accounts. Step 2, find your audience. So these are the top social media platforms in the United States: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, top 3, TikTok, definitely creeping up on them. Does this mean that your nonprofit should be on every single one of them? It depends on who you want to reach. So when we're choosing a platform for our organizations, we want to choose where our audience already is. So again, as nonprofit leaders, you probably already know who your buyer persona or donor persona, and you probably have a different persona for those who are donating versus those who you're trying to serve. So you want to keep that in mind, that persona, when you are setting up your profiles. And then you're going to look at the demographics. So for example, if you are looking for people in their 40s and 50s who, might have a little disposable income or a little bit further in their professional career, you might want to check out LinkedIn. If you run an after school program and you're looking for young people who might want to do after school program, then you're going to want to be on Instagram or Snapchat. So that's how we meet them where they are. Once you've decided which ones to choose, you want to make sure that you create the right kind of profile. Creating business profiles allows it so that more than one person can access your profile, and you have access to things like scheduling posts ahead of time and analytics to see how you're doing. And most importantly, your page is public and accessible to your audience. Facebook and Instagram are both managed through Meta Business Suite because they are owned by the same company. You're going to want a Facebook business page, which is different than the page that you log into when you are looking at pictures from your friends and such. And you want to make sure that you've converted your Instagram profile to either business or creative profile. Big difference between those is that if you have a business profile, you can only use songs that are royalty free on your videos. LinkedIn, you're going to have a business page that is managed from your personal LinkedIn. So it's like a separate page, but you log in as yourself. Again, more than one person can be an admin on that. For YouTube, you actually don't need anything special. As long as you have a Gmail, you have a YouTube. TikTok, same thing as, or similar to Instagram, you can convert any TikTok page to a business page. And then that gives you access to analytics and scheduling. Twitter, I have never used Twitter for business. I've always just had regular Twitter accounts. They allow you to schedule. And until recently, there was access to analytics. Now there is a business or Twitter professional or ex-professional. Just a quick note on Twitter, it is down. The traffic is down 19% over the past year. And so if it's something that you already have and you're getting good engagement with it, great. Probably not something I would recommend getting a new one for at this moment in time. Moving on to strategizing your content. So once you decide what platforms to post on, you want to make sure that you have an idea of what you're going to post and why you're posting it. One frequent mistake I see is that organizations just start posting without thinking about which platforms they're on, and it can peter out really quickly if you don't have a strategy. So some guiding questions for helping you establish your brand presence on social media, and then also making sure that your content meets the needs of your audience. And this is the audience journey. So basically, when we're creating posts, every post should appeal to one or more of these stages of the audience journey. And of course, on social media, things move very quickly. The algorithm is very fickle. And so you cannot assume that everybody's going to see every one of your posts, even if they follow you. So you're not necessarily going like in a linear way through the audience journey. You're going to repeat and recycle, but you want to make sure that it fits into one or more of those categories. Another way to make sure your strategy stays on target is to develop content pillars, which are themes or topics that you consistently create content around. It allows you to ensure that you're posting a diverse amount of posts, diverse types of posts. So some samples would be awareness and education. So letting your audience know what it is you do and why it's important. User generated is things like reviews or testimonials. Entertaining, humor is always a great way to get your message across. And even if you think, oh, I'm not going to dance on TikTok, that's fine. But there are going to be trends that are happening that can be applied to your organization. And then promotional, which is asking for money or asking for volunteers. That one we recommend is the least used because, again, it's about building community and you want people to find value in your content and not constantly feel like they're being sold to. Branding, the process of creating a distinct identity for your business. Chances are, again, if you've set up a nonprofit, you have like the look and feel, so logo, colors. Sometimes people forget to like standardize their fonts, but that's a big thing when you're coming to branding, especially as you design social media graphics. And also messaging is really important. Kind of getting down and writing what key points you want to get across, and then repeating those, because again, people are not going to see every post that you make. The overall tone, and then what not to say, especially in the nonprofit world, there are certain restrictions on what we can advocate for and such. So we want to make sure that we have that. So everyone who touches the social media has those guidelines. So this is my branding guide, has different types of logos, my color palette, my fonts, my tone, couple of message points. If I were doing this for a client, I'd probably have a second page with more messaging, and then just some photos to give that look and feel inspiration. Design. So when you're designing social media graphics, you want to keep it simple. You want to make sure that you don't have a ton of words on your page, on your graphic rather. If you have a lot of information to get through in a graphic, you want to split it into more than one graphic. And most of the time you want to put the bulk of your words in the caption. And it's really important to make sure that your images are the correct size for the platform that you're on, because if not, they can get cut off and it just looks messy. Some common design programs: Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop. Canva is the one that I see the most often these days. It is free and very user-friendly. There is a pro version and there is a nonprofit. You can apply to their Canva for nonprofits and get those pro features for free. And you can load your brand colors, your fonts, even the voice or the style that you want into Canva and automatically apply it to whatever you create. Paid ads are also a huge part of any social media strategy. I definitely recommend thinking through when you might want to put some extra money into your budget to promote certain posts around a campaign or an event. You can use it to expand your following. You can encourage engagement on certain things. Each social media platform has its own interface for this, and this is kind of what the Meta one looks for. I personally love Meta ads. I think you get the most bang for your buck. So if that is where your audience is, just helps to expand that reach outside of the people who follow you. And then you write it down. So you want to make sure that you have some sort of planning document for your entire organization. I like to have a content calendar and a social media calendar. So a content calendar kind of gives an overview of everything that's coming up and what's going to be produced around those milestones. So that includes the website and email, and if you're doing physical mailings, as well as your social media campaigns. And then your social media calendar specifically writes out what each post will include: caption, images, links, hashtags. You want to make sure that, like for Instagram, you can't put a link in the caption. So that should be different, right? Your copy should be different than it would be for LinkedIn or for Facebook. Twitter obviously only has 280 characters allowed. So you want to make sure that you're keeping that in mind when you're planning out exactly what you're going to post. Posting regularly. So how often should you post? Honestly, it should be it's more important to be consistent than to follow a magic formula. This is Hootsuite's most recent numbers on like how many to post per day, but the most recent numbers I could find indicate that nonprofits post about 2 to 3 times a week. You just want to be realistic about the time you have to dedicate to this, because the worst thing is to start a social media platform and then just abandon it. And when people go to find you, your last post was from, May. So be realistic and make that those posts consistent over time. Compelling post, you want to have a hook. So that's kind of like what draws the reader in and makes them stop scrolling to want to read the rest. The body is going to give you the bulk of the information. And then the call to action is, what do you want your audience to do with that information? So in this case, it was read the rest of the article and learn what to do to help Georgia. When we talk about creating content, there's two different kinds of content that we think about. It's created content, so that's stuff that you design, you put together, and then there's curated content, so that's sharing from other places, links, videos, other posts, reposting, retweeting, and that's a way to make sure that you have enough content to cover your schedule, and also helps create that community by sharing other experts. Quickly, just types of content. You have your graphics. Photos always do amazing for engagement, for getting people to react to them. So anytime you can show like behind the scenes or pictures of your service. Videos, you can either link to YouTube or upload them directly to the platform. The algorithm likes it better when you upload them directly to the platform. Instagram Reels, TikToks, YouTube Shorts, those are the very short, like 30-second videos that you'll see that often have music behind them, and there's like trending sounds and stuff. And again, I think nonprofits kind of get nervous about that because it's kind of a little sillier, but it can really be effective if you use the trends well. Carousels is just posting more than one image, especially on Instagram. And then stories, which come up at the top of Instagram and Facebook. They're these little short posts that stay up only for 24 hours. You can put polls in them, you can put links in them. Also really great for getting people to interact with your content. And then links, an event on Facebook or LinkedIn where you can create a page just for an event like tonight, and people can RSVP and get reminders and have all their information in one spot. And then text only posts, which I really only use when I'm doing like a live tweet. So this is from the last webinar when I was kind of pulling what people were saying during the talk. And then you want to schedule time to create the content. You want to create batches of content as much as you can, and then also reuse content. So one blog post can lead into a newsletter, social media posts, etc. And then scheduling the content to post. So every social platform has an interface for scheduling native to it. So you can go through and schedule individually to each platform. Obviously, that takes a little bit more time. There are also a ton of third-party apps that will do it for you. One I really like is Buffer because it is free for up to 3 accounts. I also really like Hootsuite because I love the reports that they pull, but it is a little bit more expensive, though there is a discount there's a discount for nonprofits. Step 5, engage with your community. So engagement is any action that people take on your posts or that you take on other people's posts. So anytime the audience interacts with the content. So that's likes and favorites, comments, shares, saves, clicks, mentions. In order to increase your engagement, you must engage. So taking some time every week or so to really authentically engage, responding to the comments on your account. Obviously, that should be more than once a week. Interacting in comment sections, engaging with posts for people who are in your niche or people that you may want to serve, visiting hashtags and commenting there. The most important thing is you must be authentic. You cannot just go and say, oh, that's really great. Come and check my page out too. You want to make sure that you are actually responding to the post that you are reading. And, if they like what you have to say, if you're offering value and expertise, then they are going to come and check your page out. And lastly, step 6, analyze and evaluate. So this is where you get into metrics and analytics, which is the process of interpreting the data. Every social platform has their own interface for analytics, and there are also third-party apps that will pull all the data for you. So this is where you can find it, Meta Business Suite, LinkedIn right on the page, YouTube Creator Studio, TikTok under creator tools, and Twitter analytics. Like I said, Twitter is kind of under construction, so there's not really good analytics right now. One of the challenges when it comes to metrics is that there's a lot of terms that are used that might not be native something that you've heard before, or it's just they measure different things across different platforms. So just some common key performance indicators that we use: reach, which is how many users come across your social media channels; impressions, number of times your post was visible; followers, obviously whoever's liked, followed, subscribed, whatever they call it on the platform; how many followers you're gaining, that's growth; share of voice, how many people have mentioned your brand compared to how many people are mentioning your competitors; engagement rate, how many likes, shares, comments, engagement, like we talked about earlier, divided by your total number of followers; and conversions, which is the number of people who take an action from your post, whether that's visiting your website, subscribing to a mailing list, making a purchase, etc. And then based on the data, you can evaluate, are you reaching the people you want to? How many of them are taking the actions that you're asking them to take? When are you getting the most engagement? What types of content is working and what's not working? Which platforms are getting more engagement? Maybe you chose 3 platforms and only 2 of them are really growing a following. Do we want to keep that third platform? And then based on that, you're going to go back to strategizing, and you're going to go back to posting, and you're going to keep engaging, and it kind of goes around. So this is a living process. It is a evolving process, and that's what makes it fun. So that is all I have. But I do want to just mention, I have, if you want to see how your web and social presence is presenting right now, I have free digital audits available, so you can go to my website and send in your request for that. And also, I start teaching my digital and social media professional certificate at Carroll Community College on Monday. So if there's somebody on your team who wants to learn much more in depth over the course of about 10 weeks, that starts soon. And then also please follow me and please follow Class Act. And that's it.
Katie, thank you so much. Now we open the question and answer portion, and use the hand signal so I can see who you are. Oh, there we go. William Kinsey.
Thank you.
Hi.
How much time or employees would one need to do a real good job with social media?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the strategy, right? But yeah, we do recommend that you spend at least, all right. So if you are doing it yourself, I would say set aside at least an hour or 2 every week. If you are hiring people, I would say don't expect one consultant to do your video and your engagement and your strategy and your posting and your design, right? So for example, in my organization, I have people I work with, right? So my specialties, as Stan said, are strategy, messaging, and email marketing. For design and websites and all that stuff, I have people that I tap into. So I would definitely recommend that you don't try to make one person do all of it, because it is quite a project.
My question would be, how do you get started as a nonprofit? Do you go to somebody like a consultant? Do you read up on, Google it? How's it work for a nonprofit who probably has a limited budget? How do they get started?
Yeah, so I would say to get started, there is a ton of information out there about, who's on what platform. Or if you already have an email list, if you already have a constituency, doing like a quick little survey like, hey, which social media platforms do you use? Really helpful. And then creating accounts there. I did see one question in the chat that was, how much does this cost? And it is free to join any social media platform. You don't ever have to pay to belong to a social media platform. Where the budget comes in, obviously, is hiring someone to do it for you, or if you decide to run ads on the platform. So yeah, I would start with where is your audience currently and create those pages, and then create that messaging document and figure out how often you're able to post.
Great. Jeffrey List came back on, so.
Yes,
Excellent.
I got my audio and video connected.
Okay.
Excellent.
When you're putting other people's content on your platform, what legal steps do you have to do to get clearance for it?
So if you're sharing it directly from them, you don't. If you have if you like found an article that you want to repost, common practice and politeness is to tag them so that they know it's been shared. The big thing, if you find artwork that you want to use, then reaching out to the artist and making sure that they're compensated or have given permission to use it is important. But generally, if something's on social media, there's a share button or a retweet button or a repost button, and that helps them too, because that means that their post has gotten more reach because they're reaching your audience. So generally people are pretty cool about that.
Is anybody out there part of a nonprofit group that's using social media? And could they tell us what their experience has been?
Joe?
Yeah, Joe.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm the president of a nonprofit organization called PFLAG Cape Cod. We're one of about 400 chapters around the country.
Love PFLAG.
PFLAG, yeah. And about 2 years ago, the person who was doing our social media for us, and we're all volunteers, none of us are paid. That person was just doing what little they knew about for social media on Facebook and Instagram, and then they had to suddenly stop doing it. And I ended up taking it over. And I have absolutely zero experience at that time with social media. I personally am not on social media because I'm just not into it, but I knew as a nonprofit we needed to be engaged. So I was actually pleasantly surprised at how intuitive a lot of it is. You know, there's a little bit of a learning curve, but once you kind of start figuring it out with a little bit of help of some younger people that know more than I do, you do start to find a bit of a rhythm. And I actually find that posting onto Facebook and Instagram is actually much easier and more efficient on my smartphone than it is to like open up my laptop and stuff like that. And it's easy to just copy and paste, commentary from an email that I might have text and things like that. So it's not all that difficult. Obviously, it's just a matter of putting a little bit of time into it. Some weeks there's more content. That's actually a question is, there are certain times of the year where our organization has more going on, or there are just more activities in general going on. And there's just like a lot of stuff that I can like tap into to post about. But then there are other times that we might go through a month or two with just not a lot going on. How important is it to like, I know you said like 2 to 3 posts a week, but if, what if there's just not a lot that's going on to post about? I mean,
yeah, that's when you want to lean into curated content. So sharing other people's, social media holidays. I also did a LGBTQ campaign a couple of years ago, and there is an awareness day like every week that you can celebrate, and there is for all, all my clients. There's approximately 500,000 cat related holidays, for example. So that's something that you can do. News that's relevant to your audience, that you can comment on in some way. So it is very important that you keep it consistent and not just do it when you want people to come to an event or you want people to buy a ticket, because the algorithm kind of keeps track of how often you're posting, how many people are engaging with you, how many people are following with you. So if you fall away, that audience is also not necessarily going to see it.
Thank you.
Tony Smith.
Thanks. Katie, thank you. That was very good and very quick for me. I'm a board member on something called 2030 or Bust, which has an audaciously ridiculous intent of reducing 60 gigatons of carbon to 41 by 2030.
Amazing.
And enrolling 500 million people in doing that. So it's a little outrageous, and I, for one, don't know much about social media. I was wondering, can we get those slides, or is that?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
Because they were just rich, and I just couldn't see them. And I also put in your QR code a request to talk with you about a digital audit.
Perfect.
And because I'm clear you know what you're doing, and
thank you.
And I appreciate this. So thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the video will be posted on our website, and you'll get an email with an evaluation, small 3-question survey afterwards. So
great. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Isabella. Sorry, Katie.
I was just going to say, when I send out the presentation, I also have everything linked and my sources and stuff, so you can get more information.
Beautiful.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Terrific. Isabella,
I've done websites and social media accounts for a group that works with foster children, advocates, guardians, ad litem, and also for a general collective giving circle. And I just want to underscore, especially for those of us who are a little older, for whom this technology is not totally familiar, it's how important it is to get the strategy right. It's so tempting when some young, enthusiastic member of the group says, "Oh, I know how to do that," but they don't they don't understand. You got to post regularly, all the points she made. So sometimes those of us who are not quite as literate with the technology get a little overwhelmed by that enthusiasm. You'll just wind up being disappointed, and you'll have, just so really stick to your guns about what you know about strategy.
Yeah, I agree. There's a big difference between posting for yourself and posting for an organization, right?
Exactly.
And while I do believe that all organizations should show that personality, there still needs to be a strategy behind it.
Exactly. And you really can turn people off if you're not consistent. And I thought some of, Black History Month, Women History, there's so many things that can help you liven it up when you have a slow period. So thanks.
Yeah.
Jamil,
Well, basically, we're a small organization. We're focused on raising awareness of peace building and peace efforts globally. And we're especially interested in the intersection of peace and journalism. And we post regularly on both LinkedIn and Twitter. And there is a substantial amount of our audience that is journalists and peace people,
Yeah.
the peace industry. It's a small industry, but and we just don't have, I'm working full time, but everybody else is working part time, and we don't have the bandwidth to do like we're good on LinkedIn and Twitter, and we seem to be getting response. But we're not really getting much. We don't have the bandwidth to do YouTube or Instagram or some of the other platforms. Not, is that? I mean, is that like a terrible thing not to be able to
No.
do YouTube and
No,
Instagram?
No, you want to be like I said, you want to be consistent, and you want to be realistic about the time that you have to invest in it. And if your audience is engaging with you on LinkedIn and Twitter, then great, go for it. The only thing I would maybe suggest, just because Facebook is so, like in some countries, Facebook is the internet, right?
Right.
It's having a Facebook page, even if you only update it every once in a while, is really important for people who are looking for that further information.
Yeah, I think we'd need to hire an intern or somebody in addition, because the core group is a little too burdened with what we're doing. But
And that's what happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
we have time for one more question. Therese?
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Therese.
Hi, Katie. How are you? Hi,
Good.
Tim.
How are you?
I have two questions. The first question is, what do you do if you're an organization, you start to be followed and sort of mocked on social media by people who are really against you and not for you? What's the strategy to help take care of that?
Yeah, so that's where the core messaging really comes in handy. And as we grow, sometimes I'll do like a scenario response document so that you kind of know you want to address it quickly, you want to address the issue, just the issue that they're responding to. And you do want to be a clear policy that if people are being abusive or disruptive, you can block them, right? I wouldn't block every negative comment. I would engage at least once in good faith. And if it continues, or if the language is abusive, they don't have to be there.
And you just talk a little bit, you mentioned tagging. Can you explain to people exactly what that is?
Yes, thank you.
The value of a hashtag?
Yes, thank you. So tagging is when you put basically a link to somebody else's page. So a lot of the time you'll see the @ sign in front of a username, that's how you tag. So then the person who you've tagged gets a notification that you shared their post or mentioned them, and then they can come and share it to their audience or interact with you that way. Highly recommend tagging as a way of building community. And then hashtags are when you see the little, what we used to call the number sign or the pound sign in front of a word, and that hyperlinks it and it indexes it so that you can see who else is talking about that that topic. So it's great, especially for like when you're looking for people to engage with. You can look at a hashtag that you've used, click on it, see who else is posting about it, see if you want to follow them, you want to comment on their posts. It's really helpful for that.
Thank you, Katie, and thank you all for attending and who asked some really good questions.
Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for coming.
Really, really great, you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Excellent job. Thank you.